So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Inside Fashion Design's Community Conversations. This week is a very special event, and it's part of Catalyst 2030 Change Week. And Catalyst 2030 is for any organization, not specifically in fashion. It's a group committed to achieving the United Nations sustainability goals. So within that, there's Hecho por Nosotros, which is based in Argentina, founded by Adriana Marina. And we are actually partnering with them on their Catalyst 2030 event, which is focused on working with artisan communities in the global South and beyond. So it's kind of a mouthful and it's kind of a lot of different players involved, but we're very happy to be part of Catalyst 2030. If you want to check that out, just Google. Tons of information, a lot of resources on their website. And I'm getting another person to admit. And the other one is Hechos por Nosotros. If you Google them, you'll find some great information on Adriana and her work. So with that said, my name is Britta Cabanos. I'm the founder of Inside Fashion Design. We are a media platform providing fashion industry insights and resources and tools, focusing really on ethical and sustainable practices and also building community around that so that we can support each other in our work and make a stronger social impact. So I also encourage you to check out Inside Fashion Design. Just Google it, you'll find it. And today's session, we have the honor of our featured guest, Siamanda Chege, and she's coming in from New York. So it's lunchtime about for you. So welcome. How are you doing?
I am good. So excited to be here.
Good, good. I'll just mention before we get into the conversation that we have to wrap this up about 9:50 because we're doing a second event starting at 10. So encourage everyone to join that one as well. And what I found really interesting is both of our events are around knitting and other things as well. But the knitting, it was a big focus of what your work in Bebe Ravi is doing. And then the Zoom at 10 is about new technology and using old refurbished knitting machines to create zero waste products. So they both have kind of the same knitting theme and very fascinating, both of them. So I encourage you to join the next one. That does require a separate Zoom link, which you can find at the same location you found this one. So we'll start off. I want to share your journey and all the work that you're doing and just kind of go through where you started to where you are now. So how about if we start with just a high level introduction of yourself. I know you came to the United States for school and ended up modeling, and that led you down this whole other path of creating your brand and your business.
That is true. My name is Siamanda Chege. To everyone who's going to be listening to this later that don't know me, I am based in New York, but I'm originally born and raised in Kenya. And I was very privileged to be able to come to the United States for college. And after I moved to New York purposely to do fashion. And after I had my children, I decided to give back to my community in a sustainable way. And Bebe Ravi in the Chege village was born after my babies were born. That's how it worked out.
Yeah, I'm curious. I didn't ask you this before. What did you come to the US to study? Was it fashion or?
No. It was a whole different trajectory. I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah, totally different.
Yes,
yeah. And just briefly about modeling, because I think that's so fascinating that you got to model. And so how did that come about?
Well, it wasn't really a planned thing. I am one of 9 children. My father was a preacher and he passed away at a very young age. And I had to get to work early. And that whole 20 hours only allowed to work in college for very minimum wage was not going to cut it because I needed to support my family. I needed to support my sisters. And I did have a scout say, "Oh, you could be a model," and I figured they make way more money. And I was like, why not? Let's try it. And that's the rest is history. That's how it ended up. It was not planned. I never left my country thinking, oh, I'm going to go to America and be a model. I was like, no, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to be a doctor, come back and, do something with myself and, start a clinic. I wanted to be a pediatrician. But as it turned out, I actually do more than I would have done as a pediatrician, because I get to work with women, so many children and women and so many of their children. So instead of one child at a time, I'm working, I'm supporting and being part of many children's lives. So it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, it's amazing because you're still caring for children, but just in a different manner.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned to me also that you didn't really have a plan to start this business, but once you had your first child, then it kind of spurred this idea that, you needed clothing for the child. And so can you kind of share how that spurred the start of Bébé Ravi?
Yeah, so it was not something I planned. I had no idea I would ever end up being in the fashion design industry or manufacturing. But what happened is when I had my first child, I would go back to Kenya many times when I was a fashion model. My whole family was back there. So I would usually go back and I would always bring extra things. I would bring extra clothes, or when I was around, I would, in Kenya, I would give them money or to buy their food or, just support them for that day because they came to say hello. You supported them for that day. You gave them a few shillings here and there. But then when I had my first child, I went home to introduce her to the family, my new family. And it hit me differently because I thought, all right, I had now figured out, as a mother, this child needs to eat every day. This child needs to clothe every day. And that was what we did the first months in New York, was just like, we did, play dates with the kids and feeding them and clothing them and just buying them all this stuff. And then I was in Kenya, I was looking at women and I was thinking, they do not have that opportunity. They really, I can give them something today. I can give them a couple of shillings today, go buy food. But then I was thinking, but what about tomorrow? And that's why it hit me hard. I thought, that one single act of kindness is nice, yes. But you know what? This was like, we needed to think about what they will do tomorrow. And that's how that sustainable kind of idea started. I started coming up with ideas of what could we do to create, to bring about some kind of activity that can support these women like every single day. They can go to work. They can expect that at the end of the day, they'll be able to feed their children. And that's how Bébé Ravi was started. I had the fashion background. I had all these mamas and I knew what we were spending money on. And I knew what our women in Kenya could do in terms of, artisanal work. I grew up in the village. All the stuff that they do, I could do. I crocheted. My mother knit all my dad's sweaters and we learned how to crochet when we were little. So I figured, why not take an art or skill that is so readily available. These women know how to do this. It's not like sending them back to school to learn computer science or this. I mean, this is what they do. And then I have I wanted them to create something that we can market and we can sell in the United States, because I didn't want it to be a one-off. I wanted it to continue supporting. So I thought, to give them a financial stability. And so that's how Bébé Ravi came about.
I'm going to share my screen here. So we're going to look at some slides. You guys can see that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. So we have met you. I'll move on to get this little box out of the way here. So we've covered a little bit about your background and how you were a model, and then it ended up leading to where you are now. So then let's move into, if you could share a little bit more about now what your real mission and vision is for the brand. And you employ many women, up to 100 women, I think you said. And so just share a little bit about that your mission, your vision, what you're hoping to grow with the business, etc.
Yeah. So we're talking Bebe Ravi. I think we just missed that slide of Chege orphanage as well, but that's, it's kind of, they all are together. We do on the side, we started Bebe Ravi right at the same time with the Chege orphanage, which is now the Chege village. And actually, I did forget to mention something. When we were starting Bebe Ravi, we had already started the Chege orphanage, and we were giving meals to these kids. And some kind of how I knew these women were suffering were because they would send their children to us, to the orphanage to get food, yet they had parents, and these moms just didn't have enough money, food to give their children. So we thought, we need to, that's also another reason that Bebe Ravi came to life. But we have about 7 centers now. These women come in every day, and the plan is to open as many centers as possible, to partner with as many designers and collaborate in as many projects as possible, so that we can create as many jobs as we can. So the mission is to at least create jobs for 1,000 women at some point.
A fantastic goal. Here's a video of some of the women at work. To me, it's so fun to see this dancing as opposed to a big factory machine knitting, like a mass production. These are hands that are touching every single piece.
Yeah, and it's also very, woman friendly. I mean, the women sit together and they share and they talk beyond just the knitting. They're talking about the experiences at home. They're supporting each other. They're encouraging each other. They're giving each other, advice on how to do this and that. So I love the idea of that, of them being in one place and not as a factory setting, but also sort of like, like sort of a home, being together that way.
Yeah, it's just like they're hanging out with their girlfriends and just doing crafty projects.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that they tell me sometimes when, in between, projects, they'll say, the WAS is just sitting at home. We want to be here. We want to be with the other ladies. We want to come and feel like that's their home. They have this camaraderie, this sisterhood that goes together. And so they do look forward to coming to work and to being together. Yeah.
So what year was it that you started this? Was it 2008 or so?
Yeah, we started 2008, but we had started working on it a little bit earlier. But it's not until like 2008 that we started really bringing more women and bringing the products out here.
So I imagine, I don't know how many years ago that was, but quite a few. And so I'm curious, like if the women that you started with, their children,
yes,
like how you affected those kids who are now adults, young adults.
Yes.
So did you get to kind of witness that whole scene of where you brought some women in, you employed them, they started making a decent, living, and they were able to feed their children and support their children?
Yeah, so that's usually one of the most exciting and encouraging and just, gives me goosebumps every time I go home, because there's some women that started with us and they are still with us today. And now they're grandmothers, and now their children have graduated, and now their children are coming to work with us, with their moms, which is like really, really cool. Like the stories of, they used to tell us, initially when we started, before we had Bebe Ravi, there was just so much chaos like in the village, because there were all these young people, they couldn't afford to go to school. So there was like safety issues, because when you're hungry, these kids will do whatever. And then we started this Bebe Ravi, and the streets were clear, like kids were all in school, everybody was busy, and they were like, it's safe just to be out. We're not afraid of our sons being killed out there, but because they were caught stealing for food and things like that. So we have some amazing stories.
So you're saving lives.
We really are. Yeah.
So rewarding.
Yeah.
So to show some of your work and talk about what you do and your specialties, obviously you started with the knitting and the crocheting. That was a craft that was pretty readily known and a skill there. So you started with the baby items. Do you want to just maybe talk through a couple of these and like the styles and what you're making?
Yeah, so initially we started, with that whole idea of we need to create a product that is marketable in the for the global market. I knew we needed to get the best designs, but also the best raw material. And so our raw material, all our yarn comes from Italy, which usually Italy produces the best yarns. And then our fabrics come from India. And then our designs, we work with the women. Initially, like I had shared with you, Britta, at the very beginning, we had all the women, just make every swatch they can ever imagine, everything they've ever learned. And we put together these wonderful designs. This particular line you're seeing on the very end with the little girl, that's, and also in the middle is a product for Kate Queen Organic. They've been supporting us for years, and they are based in Seattle, but they sell worldwide. And on the end, that's a knitted poncho, but then in the middle, you have a mix of skills, artistic skills. You have the crochet on the top and the woven. So this product has come from one group of women who did the top as crochet, and then it went to the group of the women who just do woven. And so that's another amazing, beautiful part, because as I was telling you, my country is very divided sometimes between tribes. And when they work together, these women work together that way from one end to the other. They have to collaborate, they have to talk about it, they have to work to make that product perfect, because if it doesn't work out, they've all failed. So that's usually a beautiful part to see as they work together, as we mix like this artistic skills, and it goes from one group for the women to another group to get the final product.
Yeah, it's amazing because you're bringing together so many different communities to the same goal. Yeah. So yeah, and you were mentioning that you have 7 centers.
Yes.
And so in each of those centers, they may have a different skill or a specialty that they're working on, right? Like one of them's doing sewing or beading. Right.
So different communities, again, specialized in different artistic kind of art. So for example, we have the Maasai people who just do beadwork, as you can see in my thingy there, like you'll see in this other, all those necklaces were made by the Maasai group. And then we have the group that just does the woven, and then the women that do the knits and the crochet. But every group is specialized in a certain kind of art.
Yeah, I love that you have, you've added in all these different talents and skills. So now you've moved beyond just a Bebe Ravi brand, but doing private label and making things for designers, and, the beadwork that can be traditional and carrying on kind of that heritage of the traditional colors and patterns and designs. So that's a really fun thing to see too. And these were some really amazing photos.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's been great to work with designers who's pushed us to like envelopes. They'll come in and say, I want this. I want chokers that are beaded. I never say no. I'm like, okay, let's go figure it out. Right. As long as we have so many groups, and if it's a skill that we are capable of, we'll put that item together. And so we've literally grown with our designers who come and ask for things that we didn't initially start with, like the baby clothes. Now we're doing women, we're doing men, we're doing home decor, we're doing jewelry. Yeah, that's really encouraging, because that's showing that the market is seeking out this kind of work, and definitely slow fashion, right? This is not a fast process. And I know from working with you personally, like you really, you'll work on a swatch, you'll work on a sample, send it back. They get to look at the pattern, the quality of the yarn, and kind of go back and forth. So it's definitely a slow fashion process, but you get this artisan made quality. And, goes back to the fashion revolution, who made my clothes, like really seeing the people behind it gives that
item just so much more meaning. So
yeah, it's been great to see the consumers wanting to really want to know where their clothes come from. It's getting more and more like part manufacturing. It's really we're getting so much interest from designers because the consumer is demanding that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've also expanded into home goods and accessories. So here you're showing like some of the other work that your centers are now doing.
Right. We ended up we're now doing home decor, as you saw that pillow, also 3 different centers, the beadwork, the woven part, and then behind that, there's also a crochet end of it. And then we were asked to do dog collars, which is an easy thing for them, our Maasai women to do, to make. And then now they want baskets. And so we figured out we'll make baskets as well.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how long does it take to bead, say, one of those bracelets? Because it's the tiny seed beads. It's very intricate. Is it
It is intricate.
Several hours? How long does that?
It can be hours to days. It depends on how big or how small the pieces are. I mean, the women are really, really good. That's all they do. If you've been to Kenya and visited Maasai villages, you'll see them sit on the I'm sure John has seen that, but they're really good at it. But it does take a while. It does take a while to make one of those. It's not just sit there and, in a
couple hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, it's very even. So it has to be done, it's very meticulous, and you take their time and they do a great and amazing job. Yeah.
It's perfect. They're so perfectly in rows.
Right. And you see the designs, right? You have to follow the designs. This is, just hand and eye coordination, and it's like really amazing. Yeah.
So I'm curious, if I had a design or I wanted to place an order with you for a pillow or a bracelet, but I don't know the design. Like, I just know I want to include it as part of my collection, say. Could I come to you and say, just create me several bracelets with different patterns and go for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of our clients will begin with either they have a vision board, they have an idea of where they want to go, but they don't know exactly how. So we will walk you through it. We always have samples. We always have swatches, like I said earlier. So we'll come in and show you, we've done, this is what we are capable of, but we can also do whatever your idea is and mix and match things. So if you have no idea at all, we can also create a whole line for you.
Okay. Yeah, it's like, I like these colors, or I kind of like this look.
Yeah.
So this one was just stunning. And I was so excited when I saw this posted that it was you. And so here, you can talk a little bit about this one and how they came about, but doing, high-end designer, and this is on the runway for spring 23, right? So how did that come about to be working with this designer, and how you went through the process of creating this dress for his collection?
Yeah, this was a highlight for us. We were so happy to see this on the runway, and also it really got a lot of interest. I think they literally sold out. But the way it worked, the way it's been working, not just with Adam Lippe, we've also worked with high-end designers like Oscar de la Renta. It's all relationships. So when we meet, we work with one designer, they usually talk about it it's a very small world, and they'll share. So right now, if you came to New York and said, I want to do a crochet in Africa, they'll probably send you to us. If it's something like something that you've seen on a high-end line. But with Adam, some of the designers that his designers who were working with him on this collection, I had worked with one of them at Oscar de la Renta. And so when they decided to come up with this, a collection of, crochet, they reached out to me, and I was really excited. And we went in, and they had a vision board. I brought in my samples, my swatches. We talked through yarns. We talked about colors. And then we started working on samples. This one particular dress is hundreds and hundreds of just squares. They're called granny squares. And all the women in all the centers, in all the 5 centers, were making granny squares at one particular time. And they would all go to the final place, usually our main center, where it's all put together by our experts, the women that really know how to do this. With a style like this or a designer like this, they'll give us their own, they'll give us measurements. They'll give us their tech. They'll give us a tech pack, and give us one size, and then we'll grade it up or down. So we'll do a small, and then they say, this one had 5 sizes. They'll be like, we do want an extra small to an extra large, and so that part we do it in Africa. And it's also all done. Everything is all finished in Africa. So I'll also bring all their labels and hang tags, and then we'll polybag it and bring it and ship it to New York directly. Yeah,
you had mentioned that you do have the technology. You've got a computer system. You can print out the patterns, so things can be emailed and sent electronically to your center, and you have the capabilities to work that way, as opposed to doing things by hand and by paper. And so that's
So one of our centers is in Nakuru town, that's where we have all our woven, all our machines. We have our computers and our printers, and that center is where we send all. Right now, we are working on the next section, the next season for Adam, and literally we've sat down, we've worked on the designs. They've given me all the tag packs and everything, and I just ship them to Kenya. I don't have to be there. I can send the patterns. They can print it out. We can print the big patterns from these card machines, and we can send literally everything. We can print it. We have the capability to do everything via digitally.
That's great. And you mentioned the yarns coming from Italy. Can you share a little bit more about the materials and how you choose what to use with the designs? Because I know that's also very important for your quality and things that you can't necessarily get in Africa, but you can bring them in to achieve the design that they're asking for.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we are not able to, for the high-end goods the women wear, the children wear, we're not able to source out the raw material in Kenya. For the children, it's very, very, it's very important that the yarns be organic. It has to be baby friendly, also have to be soft. So we get all that yarn from Italy. And then the women line, even though it doesn't have to be organic, it still has to be very high end, and it's 100% cotton, or even if it's a blend, it has to be high end to be able to sell in the stores. So we do work with different mills in Italy and also Spain for the yarns. It all depends. When we sit down with the designer at the very beginning, we give them all the options that we have, and they usually either, if they don't have a mill that they're working with already, which most of the designers don't have an idea where to get some of these yarns. They have an idea of what they want to make, but they really don't know where to get the yarns from. We usually offer them all the mills that we work with, and then we give them all the choices where they can pick from. And from the swatches, they can tell this is a cotton, this is a wool, this is a wool blend, and then we just work from there.
How did you first go about finding those sources? Did you go to a fabric show, or just did your own research?
I did a lot of research. Literally just going to the stores and looking at the label and going, what is this made of? Why, for it to sell here, what is the raw material that makes this? And asking a lot of questions as well. So I because of my prior work as a model in fashion, I knew a lot of I knew kind of a few designers and photographers and people who were really good in fashion. And I asked them, I asked a lot of questions all the time. So I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to make a difference somehow. I knew a little bit about fashion. I knew the women could do this. And so
I figured out how to make it happen.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Skipped over one slide. So you've done some pretty amazing projects with some big designers. And here's just some of the partners that you've worked with. Can you just share a little bit about maybe some of the projects they did with you?
Yeah, I can share. Oscar de la Renta was amazing. We had the opportunity to work with him when he was still alive, and he loved our product. We did their children wear. and it was global. So it was here, New York, and it also was in Europe. So that was really fun projects with him. We also worked with Calypsos and Bath, which was really also amazing because we did their children line, and then we went to the women wear, and it was really great. And everyone we've worked with, there's so many that are not here. Kate Queen Organics, as I said earlier, is one of our biggest supporters. We make close to 4,000 items for them for past season. So that's really good. It's all children, it's all organic, from the material, from the fabrics to the yarns. And so they've all been, there's quite a few that are not here. We need to update it. We've also done we've partnered for a menswear line that we haven't shown here, and more lines that are not here. But yeah, we've been able to work with such amazing people. And so we're really grateful.
So if this is the last slide, and I can share this if people don't grab it from this screen, but you're reachable through email and the website. Let me just stop share and we can chat a little bit more. Stop share. There we go. So if someone wanted to work with you, how would they go about starting that process?
Well, so they would write me an email, they will call, and then we will figure out what they want to do. And, if they have a vision, we'll talk through the vision, and then we'll show them what we're capable of doing. We always have samples of work that we've done before, and then we go from there.
So I have an idea just from knowing you and what we've talked about and what you mentioned before about employing up to 1,000 women. What are your other big hopes and dreams and wishes for your business?
I'm wishing that as we continue to develop and grow this, Bebe Ravi, that we can have many other initiatives like that in Africa, just growing out of Bebe Ravi and have on their own. And because there's just so much work to be done, and there's so much need for women to have work. And I think it's possible to train and to start other organizations like Bebe Ravi in different parts of Africa. So I've always envisioned Bebe Ravi being like a pilot program and then just growing and going to other parts of Africa and just figuring out, it's very simple. You just go to a place, figure out what these women need, what they're good at, and then you perfect their art and, find a market. And that's, for me, sounds like the best way to eradicate poverty.
And you're so impressive because you've been running this all by yourself. So you're doing all the business aspects of it. You're doing all the communications. So it's a lot of work, I know, and very admirable you're doing it. And just impressive that you've been doing this since 2008 and it's been growing and you're employing more and more women. So it's just been a very impressive story to learn about you and see where you've taken it so far. So
it's not been a walk in the park. Yeah. Like every day is a struggle. It's waking up every day going like, okay, we're still here, like we're still going on. Like it's just like just getting up. And I'm very passionate about making a difference in lives of people and women and children. And it's kind of what keeps me going. But it's not been easy, as you know, as a business owner. It's not been easy at all, but we keep going, we keep getting, there's designers that keep calling us, there's people that keep coming into our lives going like, hey, like, let's talk about what you do, let's tell others about what's out there. A lot of people do not really know that a lot of good can come from Africa. So to have the opportunity to tell the story, to be able to showcase that, you know what, Africa is not just, you know, the soapstones and, you know, the carvings. We also can do really high-end designs. We also can, it's just, we're so talented in so many ways. Like we can do so many things. So to be able to be that person that brings that out to the world has been such a great blessing and a privilege. And I do hope that we get more and more of those opportunities to tell the stories of all women in Africa.
Yeah, I like that you're tapping into skills that they already have.
Yes.
So it's and even if you do need to train them and teach maybe the younger generation, it's skills that they have that they can apply to support their livelihood.
Yeah, it's skills that they have, and they're skills that are teachable you don't need a lot of infrastructure to teach this. We have young people who never knew who didn't grow up, especially young people, the younger generation, they never grew up knowing how to knit. This were skills that were passed through your grandmother, and then the young women do not know how to do those, but they can be taught by these women. So it's not, you don't need a whole huge infrastructure to be like, it's not like a computer science school, or, you don't need to have a degree in anything. You just need to be interested and wanting to work with us. And we've seen some women, I tell a story of a woman, Eunice, came to us. She had never touched a crochet before, or knitted or knitting needles. Today she's one of our biggest producers. She's actually now a manager at one of us.
Oh, wow.
Our centers. She's a teacher now, as she teaches others. So it's just like it's fun. Like I said, it's not just a place where you come to to get to work so you can have money to feed your children and to better your life, but it's also a place you come to be with other women and and be empowered by other women. So it's beautiful to see that, to be able to bring these women together that way.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we have maybe about 6 minutes left. I'd like to open it up for questions or comments. If anyone has questions for Siamanda or any thoughts. Anyone?
Yeah, sorry, I'm in my kitchen now. How many stores are you in? Like, where could we go and find your stuff? Like at boutiques and stuff? The fashion photos were amazing.
Oh,
that red dress was just killer. But like for like the baby line and the home goods, and where would we go find those?
So most of them are listed within the designers. So we're updating the website, and it will take you directly to the designers, because we do a lot of private label. So what that means is that this is their line. So it's called
Right.
by Bebe Ravi. So it's on all their stores. If you're in New York City, I think they have one down on Fifth Avenue, on Madison. I think Madison, they have one downtown. And then they do a lot of online buying, and also in like the kids line. I know in Seattle, they're in Seattle, but they're all over the world. They're in Japan, they're in all kinds of centers. But these are clothes that you can get if you went on Bebe Ravi and you just Google click their names. It will take you to the capsules that we work with.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I did see the Adam Lippis dress, I believe, on his website, and then the Kate Quinn website is fabulous. It has all the styles there, and so you can, I think if you Google, you can find those.
Yeah. And so on. We also can find Bebe Ravi on Bebe Ravi. We have a children's line as well as our brand, and you can buy online from our website.
Awesome, because that's exactly why I asked, because I'm going to a baby shower.
Okay. All right. Definitely. Send you, Britta. If she doesn't have a link, let me know. I'll
connect you.
Are the products sold in Kenya as well?
No, Joan. Unfortunately, we don't sell in Kenya as yet. As I said, because our raw material comes from Italy, our product is kind of expensive for the market. Even though I know, as of my last visit, that we can totally, like Kenya has some very high-end stores that I visited, and the village market. I've heard that I can also sell in Nigeria and South Africa. There's some, countries African countries that have very high-end stores. But in Kenya, we don't have a market right now. We have to educate our people as well. So there's a little bit of a stigma too, even within Africans. They would rather, more people who have a lot of money, they'll go to London and go to America or buy secondhand clothing. Like, I'll make the Bebe Ravi product to come to New York, and then when it goes back as secondhand, then they'll buy it because then it came from America. So they also have to understand that something high-end can also come from Africa. So they'd rather, people with a lot of money, they'll go to London or to, come to the US to shop. But not really support the local people as well in Kenya, because they don't really think if it's made in Kenya, it's actually good. Meanwhile, a lot of stuff made in Kenya is sold in the US.
Yeah. When are you going back next? I know you go several times a year.
Yes, I am definitely planning on this summer. I'll be there in June.
Great. Any last minute questions or comments? Siamanda, do you have any advice for someone that would want to get involved in this type of business or design work?
I think if someone wanted to get in, they were passionate enough, because it needs a lot. You need to be very passionate about this to get into it. I think the best advice is to link up with people who've done it. And so, because then that goes faster. We can help you with all the mistakes we've done before, so you don't have to go through those mistakes.
You've already learned. You've learned all those hard way. Yeah.
But what I think what we need, and I really advocated, I know you're doing it, is like we need a lot of mentors who can help people who want to start things, projects like this, because it's possible. It's just not easy, but it's possible with support.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I want to thank you, Siamanda, for sharing your story and taking the time to be a guest here today. And you can reach out to Siamanda through her website. You can find her email. She's on LinkedIn, all of those usual places. So if anyone with further questions, feel free to reach out to her directly. And thank you, everyone, for coming. And we'll see you on the next one. If you want to pop into the 10 o'clock, love to see you there as well. And again, so appreciate your story and your work and everything you're doing. And it's very inspirational. So I appreciate you and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Britta. And thanks everyone for coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.